Hello everyone! Hope everyone's having a great day. Today we're going to do an episode on getting autographs from famous people, sports athletes, singers, things like that. I'm going to go through the steps that were involved. That's why I played the Step by Step song by New Kids on the Block. That song actually goes out to Marlena in Nova Scotia. I know you're a super fan, so I thought you'd like that song today. So, whenever I was younger in junior high school, my friends and I collected baseball cards, and we started hearing stories about people who would send baseball cards to players and asking, can you sign it? And they'd send the cards in the mail, and a few months later, maybe some would come back, and it was really, really cool, so we started doing that. So as you can see, I was a big baseball card fan. In this image we see here, that was in my bedroom, and I started finding out how to do it. So back then, there was addresses we can get from the team, so we just send it directly to the team. And that's what we started doing. So I would go through my card collection. Ooh, I like him. Even if I didn't really like the player, but just wanted an autograph. And it would be kind of just cool as a little side thing to my collection. So that's what we did. So I started sending them out, and then we'd get them back. But I'm going to teach you the steps that are involved in that, but I'm going to show you some examples first. So if you take a look here, these are some examples of cards I actually received back from players. Of course, Canada, so it was Montreal Expos, Toronto Blue Jays players. They were the best ones that come back. And then we have some hockey ones, of course. We also were involved in hockey and liked hockey. And this next slide shows not a card that was sent back in the mail, but an actual autographed baseball of Pete Rose. He was my favorite player whenever I was young. He had the most hits in baseball, 4,256. He passed Ty Cobb, 4,191. I don't know how I can still remember those numbers, but they were ingrained in my head because I was so involved with baseball cards. And my friend and I used to go to baseball card shows and set up tables and do a lot of trading with different people. So that was kind of fun. So that was Pete Rose. He was my favorite player at the time. So there's lots of different types of autographs you could get. But I guess whenever we did it, it was baseball and basketball and hockey and stuff like that. Whenever my son was younger, I thought maybe it'd be kind of fun for us to start doing too, just to see how it would work. And I used to keep track of the records, and I was getting about a 35-40% response rate, hit rate. So about that many people used to send them back, and all the other ones just never came back. So it was just mystery. You send it out, you waited, and who knows. But at the end of the episode, I'm going to tell you about a letter that came back 2 years after, right after a big death in the family, and it was just so impactful. That was something with my son. I'll tell that after we go through all the stuff here. So as for my son, he was involved in wrestling. He loved wrestling, WWE wrestling. So if you take a look here, we got some autographs, but not by the mail for the first couple here. So we can see Booker T and one of the Bushwhackers. So the Bushwhacker, him and his tag team partner were wrestlers in the 1980s, maybe the 90s. And Booker T, he was with WCW and then went to WWF probably at the time, then changed over to WWE. And the Bushwhacker one, we actually met him in person at an event. And after the event, we got an autograph. The Booker T one, we went to an event. It was a sports car show, I think. And he was specifically brought to the show to sign autographs and meet fans. So I think it cost $15, I believe. And we got an autograph. And my son got to meet him in person. He was such a huge guy. It was very impressive. If you look at the other one, we were at a WWE live event, and we purchased this Roman Reigns autograph. So he's a current superstar right now. And for Roman Reigns, I think it cost us $20 to buy this autograph of Roman Reigns, and it's faded heavily. But it was definitely done by him because it was sold by the WWE traveling roadshow, whatever they have, their live events. The next one was actually one that we sent out to The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I think we sent a card and we asked him to autograph it and send it back. I'm not sure what address we had. It was someplace, I thought it was in California, but I'm not sure exactly. So we never received that back. Instead, we received this. And it's an autograph of Dwayne Johnson, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And we're not exactly sure if this is a stamp, facsimile copy. We're not exactly sure because he didn't say to show, best of luck or whatever from Dwayne Johnson. So we have a feeling that he autographed these very quickly. Like he's autographing it and someone's pulling the next one. He's autographing it, someone's pulling the next one. And this are what he sent people who asked for autographs. So either way, it was very exciting whenever Show got this autograph in the mail. We had it framed up in his room for years. And it was just very, very exciting for a young person that's involved with wrestling and to get an autograph from one of their favorite wrestlers. It's great. So if you have kids at a certain age and you're wondering, can I try this? You have to do a little bit of research on the address. And some people actually charge a fee. But if you know the fee and you know how it works, then you can just do it. Then you get an autograph for your child. It's quite fun. And even if you guys send autographs to sports athletes, like I'm going to explain to you how to do it, it'll be fun for you and your child to do it, a little activity, a little bonding moment. So I recommend it. So I'm going to teach you how to do it right now. So I have some examples of the steps that are involved. So first of all, you have to show here step 1. Step 1 is decide who you want to get the autograph from. Easy enough, okay? Step 2, you have to figure out what's the address of that person and where do you send the letter to. Step 3, prepare the letter. If you're young, like your child, it's best to handwrite the letter. Don't type it up, don't make it very professional. Because if the person knows that you're an adult looking for an autograph, they're less likely, if they're time constrained, to actually do it. But if it's a young fan, they might take the time to go through and do it, okay? So the next step, step 4, is preparing the SASE, self-addressed stamped envelope. So for the self-addressed stamped envelope, what that means is you have to send a letter to them to get autographed, but you want to make sure they send it back, so you have to put an envelope addressed to you inside the envelope with a stamp on it. So you're trying to eliminate any extra work that person has to do. They get it, they look at it, they sign it, they put it in the envelope you prepared for them, and they throw it in the mailbox, and it's done. So those are the 4 steps that are needed to be able to do that. So what I did here, for example, I always like to send it in a larger envelope. So you have your address. I have a P.O. box, but definitely put your home mailing address, because again, a P.O. box might make the person think you're an adult and that they don't have time. So if they're going to send it to your house, that's best. So put your home address, and then the person's, the star, baseball star, or famous singer or whatnot's address here. So you have to do some online research. For example, if you want to do Taylor Swift, maybe find out probably her agent's address. You can do a fan club, but it has to be the official fan club. You have to be careful with fan clubs because you might be sending it to a place that's not even connected to that person, and it'll be gone and it won't come back. So find the correct address. So after you have those 2, of course you put your postage. Inside the envelope, so I tried to find a baseball card in the house. I can't find one at all, so I just threw in a picture of me. So let's just imagine this is Taylor Swift, okay? Why not? So you get your baseball card, picture of famous person. You write your handwritten letter, okay? Dear blah, blah, blah. Draw a little picture, make it fun. You put the photo in the envelope, in the letter, You might want to put some cardboard or whatnot just to keep it from bending in the mail. You also have your self-addressed stamped envelope. So you have Dale Kenny, my address, return address. You can probably put the address that you put on here for that. And there's something very important about the stamps. So if you're in Canada and you're sending it to a Canadian person, you can put a Canadian stamp because it's going Canada to Canada being sent back. But if you send it to, say, Taylor Swift in the United States and you want it to be sent back, you cannot put a Canada stamp on the return envelope. You have to put a US stamp. But you cannot buy US stamps at the post office in Canada. So you have to figure out how to get US stamps. That was the biggest challenge we had whenever we were younger doing the baseball cards, was figuring out how do we figure out the stamp situation. So I had an aunt who lived in the States, so every year she would send us United States stamps. So my situation was fine, and I gave some to my friend to use also. So we were fine. We had a US stamp to send back. If you don't have that option, one thing you can do is go on eBay, search new, unused US stamps from a buyer, and you can purchase them like that. Of course, it's going to cost more because they're going to actually have to ship them to you, and you have to pay the shipping and the stamps, and then they'll probably charge a premium, obviously. So it's a more expensive way to go, but if you want to really try this, this is something that you could do, okay? So after you have all this ready, US, going to Taylor Swift, stamped envelope, you just put it in your envelope as such. So whenever the person gets it, they open it up, they sign it, and then they send it back. So that's how you do this if you're looking for your steps. So that's what I wanted to show you. That was kind of the most important thing I wanted to show you. There's actually, it's evolved quite a bit from whenever I was young, because we would just send it and get it back. Now what happens, if you look at the next slide, sometimes famous athletes send it back to you with a letter. And the letter basically says, I'm the agent for this athlete. They no longer sign autographs for free. If you want, you can send a request with money to this address, and then we will sign it. We will get him or her to sign it. So what they're doing is basically saying, send your baseball card or whatnot to the address provided, throw in $10 for a signature. If you want them to inscribe it, to Dale, best of luck, whatever player, there's going to be extra cost for that. And then it gets done and gets sent to you. So it's not quite as fun as whenever we were young and would send them off and all we had to pay for were stamps. It's evolved a little bit. And I'm sure if you did it the way we did it whenever we were younger, the hit rate would be quite different than it is right now. Okay? So those are the main things I wanted to talk about. The other thing is, okay, this letter right here, it was actually sent in, I believe, 2018. So my son loved the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. And the author, he wanted to send for an autograph. It was something we were doing at the time. So he wrote his, I love Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Here, can you please send me a signature or a little caricature? And we sent it off. We had the address. 2018, early 2018. Nothing. We got nothing back. And then in October 2019, my mother passed away. So this is me and my mother, probably around 2000 or so. So she passed away in October 2019. And in November, early November 2019, before COVID, we got this in the mail, probably within a week or two after my mother's funeral. And it was just so weird. You can think of it however you want to, but it was just kind of like we had something that was sent to us almost like it was a gift. And he felt that something was wrong, and he sent this to us. So the letter is basically a typed up letter, and I'm just going to read a little bit of that, okay, for you today. So it says, Dear Show, A few years back, you wrote to tell me that you were a fan of Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. I wanted to tell you how much I appreciate your letter and to apologize for not responding sooner. One of the rewarding things about being an author is getting letters from fans like yourself. Then a little bit more stuff. The last few years have been busier than I could have ever imagined. In addition to working on the books, movies, and other projects, I have 2 kids of my own, and I'm doing my best to be a good dad to them. When you add up everything in my life, I'm not left with much time to personally respond to letters I receive from my fans. This is something that really bothers me because I know how much time it takes to write a personal letter. And that's exactly what we did. So he thanks us from the bottom of his heart, and then he signs it. We needed this at a very specific time in our life, right after my mother passed away. And it was just so weird to get this 2 years later. That's unheard of. After 2 months of sending a letter to a sports athlete, if you haven't got it back, you're basically not going to get it back. Of course, there's exceptions, right? But this was incredible. And whenever we were at a very low point, this letter came and just created this joy that we were lacking. And then, of course, you continue with your life and you move on and you think about things and stuff, but you also remember things like this that happened. So those are the things I wanted to explain to you and how that was so touching at a very important point in my life. So that's the end of this episode, but it's time for the numbers update. So I didn't give one last time, and I was supposed to talk about Boy Scouts this episode, which I said the last episode, but I don't have all the photos here. There's still some at home, so I have to gather that, and it's actually going to be a much longer and larger episode. There's a lot to go through there, so I'm going to need more time to prepare. That's why I wanted to do this one instead. So, the numbers. Let's look at the numbers we have. I finally have good number update for the weight. So, I'm down 10.2 pounds from 338.4 to 328.2. So that really increased over the last little while, so I've been kind of in the groove doing it. But I don't want to focus on the pounds. I want to focus more on the percentage of my weight. So if you take a look underneath the pounds, it says 96.98% of my 2024 self. So I thought that'd be more interesting, kind of more fun, is see what percent am I of my old self. So original self, 338.4, down to 328.2, 96.98%. So how low should I want to get that to? Is it 70% of my original self, 2024 self, 60%? So I'm not sure where that is, but that seems like a more interesting goal to go after. So anyway, I'll keep you updated on that. The other thing, number of people visited in person, still 2, nothing changed since then, but I have some things on the go coming up in a little while. Photos. So at this point in time, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I have 1,482 photos of myself solo or in groups. So I think it was around 1,100 last update, so I've added a couple hundred more, and the goal is to get 3,000 photos. So we'll see how that works out in the end. I now have 92 photos that have been sent to me from old high school and university friends. I think there were 6 in total that now have sent me photos, and I have a couple more coming in. I'm just waiting for them to come in because I know that they're going to their family home, going through the albums, checking them out. So I can't wait to get more. And some of these have just been incredible. Some of the photos, it's great. I just love it. So observations I have from going through the photos. Japanese wedding photos, 240 photographs more, because we had a photographer there, and that guy took an insane amount of photos, and he printed everything and just gave us everything. So there are a ton of photos. So that's one reason why the number jumped so much, was because of the Japanese photography album. Whenever we had our wedding in Japan, we also did like in Friends. If you remember Chandler and Monica's wedding, they left little disposable cameras on each table, and we did the same thing, and we told everyone during the ceremony, during the supper we have, take the camera and take pictures of you guys, little groups, or just use up the entire film. And we thought it would be a great idea. The result was almost no one used it. A couple of them were never even used. And only, I think, one table used up the entire film. And there was a lot of partial, only 1 or 2 photos on each one. So the idea was great, but the execution was terrible because the people didn't actually use them. So that was an interesting observation. My response rate, I've contacted 87 people so far, and 50 have responded. So my hit rate is 57%. Last time it was 44%, so it's actually increased quite a bit. So I'm very happy. Thank you everyone for answering my messages. I know I'm bugging some people a little bit too much probably, and they're like, why is he constantly contacting me? Well, it's not constant, it's only twice. But anyway, hopefully they'll respond more and I'll get more pictures coming in, okay? So that's that. The last thing is, I already talked about the weight, how I want to get that down to maybe 60% of my 2024 weight. We'll see what happens, okay? So anyway, we got to keep this going down. So hopefully in a year's time, whenever you see the video, I'll be in a different place. I see the sun just whacking me right here now. And maybe we'll have a different setup, better voice recording, all that stuff. So little improvements day by day. So thank you guys so much. And I'm going to play more of New Kids on the Block. For Marlena, I'm going to come visit you in Halifax sometime, Nova Scotia. So get ready. Okay, here we go. Oh, yes. Thank you, everyone.